Let me summarize as briefly as I can the 5 laws or covenants, the 4 tokens, and their accompanying names, signs, and the 3 penalties that are involved as the deepest secrets of Mormonism. These are the things that the Mormon is tested to get into the celestial room, which is a representation of having to be tested and to supply these secrets in order to get past the guards of the celestial gates to get into the celestial kingdom. Okay, the 5 laws are briefly the law of obedience, where wives agree to obey their husbands in righteousness, and the husbands in turn agree to obey the law of Elohim and keep his commandments. The law of sacrifice is that all patrons agree to give everything they have, including their lives if necessary, to the building up of the kingdom of God, which of course is the Mormon Church. The law of the gospel is that all patrons agree to obey what is called the law of the gospel, and in addition to avoid all light-mindedness, loud laughter, evil speaking of the Lord's anointed, the taking of the name of God in vain, and any other unholy and impure practice. The law of chastity is that all agree that they'll have no sexual intercourse except with their legal and lawful husband or wife, or wives, as the case may be. The law of consecration is that all agree to consecrate their time, their talents, and everything with which the Lord has blessed them or with which he may bless them to the building up of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for the building up of the kingdom of God on the earth and the establishment of Zion, which of course is the Mormon Church. Now, the tokens are actually hand clasps, and all of the tokens are actually found in Masonry. So moving on then to the signs and penalties that accompany these tokens, I'll go through as quickly as possible and explain those. The sign of the first token of the Aaronic priesthood, all of these tokens and various other things are associated with the Mormon, Aaronic, and Melchizedek priesthood. The first token is made by bringing the right arm to the square, the palm of the hand forward, the fingers close together, the thumb extended, and then the penalty is represented by placing the same hand in the same position with the thumb under the left ear by drawing the thumb quickly across the throat to the right ear and then dropping the hand to the side. Now, originally, that penalty was described as having your throat slit from ear to ear and your tongue torn out from the roots. And all of these penalties were described rather graphically in bygone years, but because of the complaints of a younger generation, the wording has been changed, modified significantly, but the morbid gestures are still included in the temple endowment, and everybody performs these as they go through a description that says these are various ways in which life may be taken, and the Mormon is actually agreeing as he does these that rather than reveal these secrets that we're discussing, he would suffer his life to be taken.
So this really puts the Temple Mormon under a bond of fear.
Well,
in
a sense, it's fear, but it's extreme dedication is what it really is. Rather than expose this secret, I would suffer my life to be taken. Now, the second sign, or the sign of the second token of the Aaronic priesthood, is made by bringing the right hand forward, the hand in cupping shape, and raising the left arm to the square, and the penalty is made by bringing this right hand to the left breast, drawing the hand quickly across the body to the right breast, and then dropping both hands to the side. And this used to be described as having your chest cut open and your heart and vitals torn out and fed to the beasts of the field and the fowl of the air. The sign of the first token of the Melchizedek priesthood is made by bringing the left hand forward, the hand in cupping shape, then bringing the right hand forward with the palm down, the fingers close together, the thumb extended, and the thumb is placed over the left hip. And then the penalty is made by drawing the thumb quickly across the body to the right side, dropping the hands to the side. This was previously described as having your body cut asunder and your vitals and bowels gush out upon the ground. Now it's again just described as various ways in which life can be taken. These are the penalties, the blood death oaths that are associated with the temple secrets.
So, Chuck, if you would explain what happens at the veil and how we got there.
Well, before we get to the veil, while the patrons are still seated in the endowment room, they're given a step-by-step instruction and demonstration of the veil ceremony and just exactly what they'll have to do by two temple workers that describe this with a single segment of the veil that is positioned for this purpose in the endowment room.
Now, this is really right towards the end of the endowment.
Yeah, we're coming up finally to the end of the endowment and the end of this series. And after they've been shown and explain exactly what they'll have to do, then all of the patrons get up following the witness couple and proceed into the terrestrial room where the actual veil segments are located. And this is a very large room, and the entire front of the room is made up of approximately 50 veil segments, and these actually extend out across the front of the room and out of sight. And then the three people involved in the veil ceremony are the temple veil worker, which I was in the Los Angeles temple for 3 years, behind the veil representing the Lord, the introducer in front of the veil, who introduces the patron and helps the patron through the ceremony. Should he make a mistake, the introducer corrects him immediately. There's no communication between the veil worker representing the Lord and the patron and the introducer. The only way he can communicate is by not proceeding with the ceremony or by going back to the place where the mistake was made. Okay, to make this as clear as possible, Dolly and I will verbally portray the ceremony. First, I should say that all of the patrons have proceeded into the telestial room, and the men are seated on the right and the women on the left, and they're called forward in small groups to the veil area, and the patron is brought in and positioned in front of the veil. Then the introducer, with a small mallet that's presented there, raps 3 times.
Eve, having been true and faithful, desires further light and knowledge by conversing with the Lord through the veil for and in behalf of Sally Jones, who is dead.
Present her at the veil, and her request shall be granted. While this is being said, the veil is parted slightly so that the veil worker can see the name slip that the patron has and see what the patron's first name is. Okay, at this point then the veil worker reaches through the compass mark in the veil, takes the patron by the right hand, and says, "What is that?"
The first token of the Aaronic priesthood.
Has it a name?
It has.
Will you give it to me?
I will, through the veil. Rachel.
Then the veil worker breaks the grip and takes the patron again by the right hand and says, "What is that?"
The second token of the Aaronic priesthood.
Has it a name?
It has.
Will you give it to me?
I will, through the veil. Sally.
Then the veil worker breaks his grip again and again takes the patron by the right hand and says, "What is that?"
The first token of the Melchizedek priesthood, or sign of the nail.
Has it a name?
It has.
Will you give it to me?
I will, through the veil. The sun.
Then he breaks his grip again and takes the patron, this time by the patriarchal grip, and says, "What is that?"
The second token of the Melchizedek priesthood, the patriarchal grip, or sure sign of the nail.
Has it a name?
It has.
Will you give it to me?
I cannot. I have not yet received it. For this purpose I have come to converse with the Lord through the veil.
You shall receive it upon the 5 points of fellowship through the veil.